Now, Brendan Ingle is the man behind perhaps one of the finest boxers in the world, Prince Naseem, and many rate him as the best coach too. But his revolutionary approach to training and the preparation of fighters has made plenty of enemies too. Genius or madman? Julie Parker reports.
Brendan Ingle arrived in Sheffield and transformed the local church hall into St Thomas's Club for boys and girls, where he taught the science and art of boxing. His teaching methods and multi-ethnic community have not always met with convention, but 39 years on, the gym has grown as well as the careers of his students.
A typical Brendan Ingle fight, such as Johnny Nelson Ryan Rhodes, or ultimately Naseem Hamed, in past fights such as Herol Graham, you find the thing that's so common about, what they all have in common is that you don't know what they're going to do next. They switch it, they fight from the side, they do all funny things, they square rough, there's a lot of things that they do that you would never see in a normal orthodox boxing gym.
Education the Ingle way includes singing and routine workouts. His philosophy is that boxing isn't just about punching, but building confidence and learning to survive.
It helps us to be confident, to stand in front of audience and to express ourselves, and once you can do that, you don't worry about what people are going to say. You get on with your job, and that's important in boxing, especially in front of big crowds.
Ingle's interest in human nature mean that his students come from all walks of life, yet all receive the same treatment.
So I've got to make a move. I'm 15 years old. I don't want to get bullied and picked on for the rest of my life, especially when I grow up and have kids. So I plucked up the courage, I come through the door, spoke to Brendan. Been here 6 years and it's been a wicked time. There's no hierarchy, there's no like, I'm professional, I'm better than you. It's, everybody is judged on the basis of their skills, You got amateurs who are as skilled as some of the professionals, or if not, some of them are even more skilled than some of the professionals, But like, everybody's there to learn, everybody's, everybody's taught the same thing.
St Thomas's gym combines training, working and dreaming.
From the age that they come in here, they're taught that they can achieve anything. It's not a matter of, oh, there's Naz over there, I wish I could be like him, But I'll never be like him because he's one in a million. Everybody's taught that they can achieve the same thing.
The gym remains as Ingle found it, representing years of hard work and dedication.
It adds character to the gym, and I don't think it could work any other way. I think people must think, go in there sometimes, people that don't understand the methods must go in there and think, goodness me, Brendan's a millionaire, why doesn't he get some new walls, and why doesn't he change this, and why? It wouldn't work, the gym would be totally different.
With the success of Ingle's boys on Saturday at the Sheffield Arena, the Irishman certainly seems to know how to give the boxing world the full Monty.
I enjoy it so much, being at Brendan's gym, and I know I've got a lot more to achieve. I'm at the beginning stage of the boxing career technically and everything, and I make mistakes all the time, but I know that I will achieve my goal through hard work.
And we're now joined by, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest trainer in the British Isles, if not the world, Mr. Brendan Ingle. Thank you so much for coming on, Brendan.
It's a pleasure.
Now, you were a boxer yourself for 8 years, but yeah. I'm sure you'd be the first to say not a great one. How does a not great boxer become a legendary trainer?
I wouldn't say I'm a legendary trainer. I like doing what I'm doing. I'm getting great results. Well, my brother's boxing. I've been watching it since I was about 3 or 4. I started participating at 8, 9 or 10, amateur and professional. But you've got to have someone looking after you. And unfortunately, when I come over here at 18, I more or less trained myself. I was in 1 or 2 amateur clubs in Sheffield. But it was really the system. They were doing the best, but you were very limited in what you were doing. So in 1960, I met my wife, and the Reverend Fred Harrington, he was the local vicar, and he got the church hall across the road, and he asked me to do something, in there for the kids. So I went in there and I started teaching myself, training, started teaching the kids around the place. Then it gradually started building up. About 65 I went pro. I boxed till about 70, 71 or 72. But in that period of time I was training myself, training the others boxing. You can't do it. You've got to have someone looking after you. So when I stopped boxing myself, I reorganized the gym and I started doing all the things you shouldn't do. I cut out what you call open sparring, head sparring, and I started concentrating on footwork. I drew funny lines on the floor, reds and yellows, and everybody started laughing. But within 5 years, I turned out 5 national champions. Some were good enough to go professional, some were good journeymen. But unfortunately, the ABA then, and I've just watched early on the programme about the athletics going bang.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
this happened with the ABA. The ABA at that time were getting £100,000 sponsorship off George Wimpy and £100,000 off the Sports Council. They were getting £200,000 a year. You got the Russians, which were super professionals. They were getting sponsored by the state. You got the Cubans, and we were turning out kids in Winkerbank in Sheffield that were good enough to box international and go on. And consequently, the ABA come along and says, you can't have amateurs and professionals training together. He had one of these cock-up trials or whatever you want to. They come from a few come from the ABA in London, come to Sheffield, had this meet, and we weren't involved. Then our club was disaffiliated. My wife and myself, there was pictures of us in the local paper, The Star, and everybody knows everybody in Sheffield. It's a great place. And we got barred. I says, well, what's the reason? You know, well, we don't have to give you any reason. And my wife, I'll never forget it, she wrote a letter in the local paper, The Star. She says, what's going to happen? The ABA in the next 5-10 years will collapse. And it did collapse. You've got to have open discussion on what's happening. You know, and just, you know, it's crazy. You know, how can you finish up going box 3 rounds super professionals, 3 rounds, that's what the Russians were, the Cubans, the East Germans, all the communist countries, and we were training kids to lick them.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You know, I started teaching you don't have to box orthodox, you can box orthodox, southpaw, switch, stand square on, you know, and box from the side. He said Herol Graham was the great defensive master. I says, yeah. I says, he is. But I says, you watch the next kids I bring through. They're going to be attacking counter-punchers. They're going to be defensive counter-punchers. They're going to be able to dance, jive, do anything and not get hit. And they will become world champions. They used to look at Naseem Hamed, a 3 stone 6 wet through, and Ryan Rhodes. And says, these fellas are going to become outstanding champions. And he used to say to me, pigs can fly. Yeah. I says, we'll see. I run a show, I remortgaged my house, I hadn't got 2 bob, me and my wife, she nearly had a fit. I remortgaged my house, 83, hired Brammer Lane out, put Herol Graham in with Lyndall Holmes. The place was packed, made no money, never went back again to run a big show, but run a few small shows to keep my boxers in work. But the other night in Sheffield were Frank Warren, and Frank Warren's the greatest promoter ever come out of this country. He's done a fantastic job. Done a fantastic job. And to put 10 fights on, and I look back and I says to my wife, you know, this is it. If we never do anything after this, you know, Naseem Hamed, who we've had, and he's brilliant. I say to people, Naseem Hamed is as good, and he's going to be better, please God, than Muhammad Ali. And they say, you what? I says, well, Muhammad Ali was brilliant. We could only box orthodox. He could shuffle. Naseem Hamed can box that way, square on. He can twirl, he can turn.
He can change his punches halfway through.
Yeah.
That's what he saw. He turns a jab into an uppercut, doesn't he?
Brilliant. I'm glad you said that.
I've never seen anyone do that.
Well, this is what we teach. I teach 99% everybody the same. The 1% makes all the difference. And people say, well, you're taking all the credit. Hey, listen, I invented it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I won't let nobody take the credit off me, because when I was down, they kicked me, they trampled me up. But as I say, brush yourself down, get up and start all over again. Yeah. And I say to the kids, if you sit on your backside, hoping you're going to succeed, waiting to going to succeed, you don't succeed. You get up and you make things happen. Minister of Education in Sheffield, David Plunkett, a blind man, doesn't affect him. Become Minister of Education. Yeah. Richard Caborn, local fella. All these fellas I mentioned, because they come from nowhere, been great inspiration for me, because I said, if they can do it, I can do it. And I say to the kids, you know, there's nothing to stop you from becoming world champion. Naseem Hamed's done it, Ryan Rhodes, I've got Pelly Reid, I've got John Taxton, I've got James Hare, and I've got kids now that are better than Ryan Rhodes and Naseem Hamed at the same age. And people say, yeah. I says, yeah, because you've got to get better than Naseem Hamed. Otherwise, and you've got to keep climbing until you get the perfect fighter. Naseem Hamed, at the moment, is not far off. Yeah. But when he goes to America and captures America's imagination, you know, it's going to be marvellous.
One of my favourite quotes from you. This is great. You're the best interview that I've ever done in my life because you just answered the next 5 questions as well. That's great. I'm having an easy night tonight.